Happy New Year and welcome back to the channel. It's Buoyant Bear here. Before we start, hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow. Now to get right into it. So recently, MAGA is having its own little civil war. That's always amusing. This all started over the H-1B visas and Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy, who were appointed by Donald Trump to lead not really a government agency, but a government oversight department called Doge. So it's pretty much a meme. I mean, you guys remember Dogecoin, all that? Yeah. Well, anyway, so what ended up happening was Elon pretty much signaled that he was in favor of increasing H-1B visa acceptances. And as a tech bro billionaire owner of multiple companies, this benefits him almost exclusively because he can then use these to import cheap labor and provide tougher working conditions for these people because they always have the threat of returning to their homeland looming over their head. So they're going to be the last ones to protest for better conditions, shorter scheduling, etc. They're easier to abuse. That's the reality. It's callous, it's awful, but that's just true. They're easier to exploit. And that seems to be the main reason he got involved with the MAGA movement in the first place. I know he had said it's because he doesn't want like furries and this in the schools. Like, it's just nonsense. If you want your school to have some semblance of sanity, maybe don't live in, I don't know, Berkeley. Like, yeah, the guy was operating in California, and I'm presuming had his kids in the schools there. Like, I remember him being worried about the trans stuff in school, and I'm thinking, why are your kids going to public school if you're a billionaire? It doesn't add up. But anyway, so he joined on the social issues front, and everybody that I saw on Twitter and otherwise was very happy to take his money, forgetting one thing. He is still a tech bro billionaire. He operated in California. Now, to be fair to him, he did leave California, but very recently, and how long had he been operating there? Anyway, these two are in favor of increasing the acceptance rate of H-1B visas, and the MAGA base, a base which in 2015 was founded on more of an isolationist standpoint, nativism, build the wall, keep them out, get these bad hombres the hell out of here. All of those quotes were from Donald Trump at the time. And he actually in 2017 opposed H-1B visas. He tweeted support of them in 2019, but the acceptance rate for H-1B visas actually fell under Donald Trump's presidency. So this is flip-flopping. He used to be against it, but when Elon waved his money around, we're back to the as a country, we're just pretty much returning back to the way things operated under Reagan, Clinton, Bush Jr. It's make America neocon again, really. Billionaires get cheap labor they can exploit. They won't live near these people either. Remember that. When they're telling you they're going to take in millions of bright minds from around the world, the voters are the people typically that are going to be living around these people. The same was true of the economic migrants from Latin America. The same is true of the H-1B recipients from India or Africa, etc. The people are the ones pissed. The billionaire isn't. He loves this cheap labor he can exploit, and he lives in his own little bubble, so he would never have to deal with the shifts in terms of language and otherwise that'll happen when you bring in that many people to certain pockets of the country. He's completely insulated from all of that. That's why he doesn't care. But the spokespeople such as Steve Bannon, they're calling out Elon, saying that to summarize it, really what Bannon's telling Elon, he called him a nerd. So it is getting a little bit juvenile and frankly dumb, but he pretty much told him, like, you waved your money around, you were given a seat at the table. That's the part that he lost people at, where he said, oh yeah, he gave us so much money, that's why he gets a seat at the table. Why not the populist far right people who have been donating to Donald Trump for years, who supported him through Stop the Steal? Just looking at it from a balanced perspective, why wouldn't those people be more deserving of a seat at the table? That's what MAGA was founded on. I would assume that somebody would want the people that made it, that the people that went to the first Trump rallies, the ones that shot his numbers up above all the other Republicans. You would think it's not real populism, but you would think in a populist movement, or at least one pretending to be, that those people would be given a seat at the table. But no, we're right back to the McConnell era. They'll still boo Mitch McConnell, but that's the type of Republican Party that they are returning to. The Democrat Party kind of stayed the course as that. They never shifted. They had Bernie Sanders run at the same time Trump did in 2015, but the DNC rigged the primary and stole it from him. He capitulated, because of course he did, multiple times to two different crooked candidates. And yeah, they never left their course of corruption and bought off politicians. They just stayed the course. MAGA seemed like it was going to be a removal from that system as well, and a lot of people bought into it. But then now it's just reverting back to standard Republican politics. Really, look at it. More migrants, cheap labor for the billionaires, the Trump tax cuts, there's going to be a second round of those coming. So really, it seems like the organic nature of the movement doesn't feel the way it did in 2015. In 2015 and in 2020, two different time periods, it was taboo to be a Trump supporter. He was banned from conversation. In 2015 especially, if you were a Trump supporter in 2015, people would unfriend you. Like, they just thought you were a mean, like, awful person because you wanted mass deportations, etc. That's what the vibe was back then. Now it's very corpo. We have the tech bros calling the shots and are going to be overseeing government. I don't see this lasting. I don't see Elon's time lasting in the Trump organization for two things. One, he's barely in the door. The inauguration hasn't even happened yet, and he's already created a civil war within the MAGA world. And two, the number one rule of dealing with or doing business with or working for Donald Trump is don't step on his toes and try to one-up him. You will be fired immediately. And I know people would counter me with, oh, but Elon gave him so much money. It doesn't matter. He's not running for re-election. There's no re-election fund. And we know this for sure because last time when he was running for re-election in 2020, he started campaigning for that re-election in 2017, his first year, first few months. He was already doing 2020 election rallies. I don't know if everybody forgot that, but yeah, there is no re-election campaign this time, though. He has one rally scheduled that's a celebration or a victory rally for the election. But yeah, Elon's money doesn't mean much at this point to him as a person. To the party, it means everything. And that's what I want to get to next. Let me just play a little of this first.
Some drama, what appears to be a growing rift between President-elect Trump's advisors, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, and some immigration hardliners. What more can you tell us about that?
That's right. The rift is over H-1B visas that are crucial for top technology companies in the U.S. to hire skilled international workers. And
already skewed. More like hire cheap workers that they can exploit. You got to keep correcting this because the media is never going to tell you the actual truth. They're going to make it seem like this is done out of altruism. It isn't. Nobody is in favor of increasing this. Look at the left and the right. Nobody wants an increase in this. Because of how these people, the employers, that it's only to benefit them, first of all. But second, they're co-opting a movement that was against more people coming in to ask for more people to come in. Elon's been calling people shit for brains on Twitter. He's having like a literal meltdown. On Christmas Day, he spent Twitter going back and forth with Laura Loomer. I don't know about you all, but if I had over $1 billion, just $1 billion, I wouldn't be spending Christmas on Twitter arguing with people like worth a fraction of my assets. That wouldn't even occur to me as a good idea or worth the time. But something's up here. Like, I don't know, because he's just completely like losing it. He's getting into the Twitter wars. He was accused of unverifying people on Twitter, something that Jack, the old owner, did to people in 2017. Would take away their blue check marks and saying, I don't want to appear as if I endorse their beliefs, etc. He's doing that exact same thing, allegedly, to people who made fun of him on Twitter. They weren't posting threats. They weren't, at least as far as I know, or what I've seen, they're not violating TOS or the law, and yet they're unverified or suspended. It sounds like somebody just had a tantrum that people were posting India memes about him. Well, like I said before, a smart calculation would have been, take that to a party that is welcoming to immigration, not to a movement specifically that started on build the wall. 2 and 2, man, 1 + 1. Come on. Like, it's not that difficult. That's like joining the Democrat Party and as soon as you buy your way in, announcing that you want a mass deportation. It's not part of their platform. It's going to be reviled, mocked, booed, sneered at. Of course. Why wouldn't it be? Or here's another one. It's like joining a Christian movement and then saying you want Christianity to be banned. Like what? That doesn't compute.
Mr. Trump's picks to cut government spending in his new term, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy support the use of the visas, which are capped at $85,000 each year. Their position now generating backlash among Trump supporters in favor of a hardline approach to all forms of immigration, exposing cracks in the relationship between.
That's going to be what happens. What happens from this isn't going forward, oh, now they're going to be more accepting because I posted a few Tesla memes. What happens next is they become more hardline or further right on immigration. And social media, despite its flaws, does give us a good insight into what a majority of a certain group or party are thinking. And right now, based on what I see on social media, the MAGA base, the people that made this movement in the first place, they are completely done with Vivek and Elon. Done. They want a lot of them want them gone. The only people, hilariously, that I've seen defending them and wanting them to stay on board are neocons, the Bush Jr. types, the types that would vote for Jeb Bush if you put him in front of them. Those people are defending what was said. And what the part I took issue with personally was how he pretty much just, like Vivek especially, I don't know if he was drunk tweeting or what the hell that was, but doing that nerd rant, like it just reeked of I was bullied in school. It's like, you're a grown man and you're rich as hell. Be happy, bro. Like, why are you still malding about people on Twitter? It's just proof that money doesn't buy happiness. They can flex it all they want, but look how miserable some of these people actually are. To spend Christmas Day beefing with Laura Loomer, that is really sad when you're worth billions of dollars and could be at a ski resort with that on Christmas Eve, just on a whim. This guy could go to Aspen on a whim and have Christmas there with beautiful decorations, trees, etc. But no, he just reduces himself to this kind of conduct. But yeah, what ends up happening is the base turns on you. It's not, again, it's simple calculus. Go against the base, bribe their leader, base turn on you. Pretty simple concept, really.
Traditional MAGA supporters and tech bros before the president-elect even takes office. Joe?
All right, Ali Rafa in Florida. Ali, thank you.
Hey, thanks.
That's the other thing. They act like it's their movement. They just bought their way in. It doesn't work that way. And how much can you really get done? Okay, you get 4 years. If this does pass and Trump does end up remaining to support it, he changes his mind as often as he changes his socks. If it does continue this route and they take in more immigrants from other countries and don't deport the economic migrants that came in under, frankly, Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, millions of people, if they don't fulfill, that's what they promised their base from the start. They didn't deliver on it the first term. There's one note. 2, they're hinting that they're not going to deliver on it this term, already pulling back, saying we're only going after the violent criminals. So if they... I can't believe that people that are in the world of politics know so little about it. You want to know the last time this happened, when a president completely went back on a key campaign promise? H.W. Bush. What happened when he ran for re-election? He lost to Bill Clinton. Because of course he did. He said, read my lips, no new taxes. What did he do? He was forced into raising taxes. Now, the argument there is don't make promises you have no intention or even a half guarantee of being able to keep. His border czar, Homan, is pretty hardline on immigration and does seem to be more of the type like send everybody who came illegally back home and then don't let them back in. That seems to be his position, but the leadership is what matters. The guy they appointed to be in charge of the border doesn't get to make all of the decisions regarding the border. If the president pulls back his support for a mass deportation and tells him we're only focusing on the violent criminals, that's exactly what he's going to do, lest he be fired. And lots of people have been fired by Trump over the decades, so I don't think he wants to join that not-so-exclusive club. Well, let me know what you all think about this. This is very interesting, because MAGA started out as a nativist movement in 2015. We had 2020 with J6, the election, all that, and now it's kind of in a neocon sphere, where we're back to cheap labor, foreign war, and all of this. Like, you have people in the party still wanting us to go to war with Iran, to go to war, to keep backing Israel, to keep backing Ukraine. You have all of this These people, I can't. I don't understand them. It doesn't compute. They see a miserable population that's literally celebrating the murder in broad daylight just because the guy was a healthcare CEO. People are so fed up with how broken this country is, and these people just they don't get it. They would revert us back to Bush Jr. in 2008 while people are yelling that they can't buy homes. You have mega corporations buying up private homes, and now people like that go to college, they bought into the go to college line. They go for 4 years, get a degree, and if they graduate in something like, I don't know, let's say education, the schools are a mess. There's no standards in who they hire to lead school districts. There's a 20-something-year-old in my hometown on the board of trustees for a school. You can't even, I can't even make this up how broken our country actually is. And neither party has any interest in reforming it. The Democrats just want the status quo, fund the foreign war, take in more people, we'll figure it out later. It creates a big mess. People get killed, murdered in the process. Then you have the Republican Party going back to the neocon Bush Jr. era, and nobody wants that. The populists on the right don't want it. The far right wants it least of all. And people like me, kind of center independent, I don't want it either. I don't want Bush Jr. again. I lived through it once. I'm not doing it again willingly. It was awful. He tanked the economy, deregulating everything. He had that stupid idea that everybody needs to be in a house. So he authorized loans that they knew people wouldn't be able to pay back. The bubble burst, and then people were being thrown out of their homes. And in some cases were being paid money that they could use to leave, like to, gas and a hotel. The bank would pay them to clear out their own belongings. If you watch the movie Capitalism, A Love Story, you get to see a scene of this. A guy had to burn like all had to clean up his yard and like move his stuff out, and the bank that was taking his house paid him to do that. I don't want a system like that back. I don't like the neocons. I don't like frankly, the two groups I can't stand the most are the fringe left and the neocons. They are ultimately a cancer to our political discourse. On one end, you have, let's start a war with Iran for no reason at all. And then on the other end, the fringe left, you have crime isn't real. Meanwhile, celebrities like Paul Hogan in Los Angeles in 2020 are having to put up signs that says, this is my house, not yours, because homeless people keep breaking into his mansion. These societies aren't sustainable. The ideal societies of a neocon and a fringe lefty. I agree with the left on quite a few things, like on legalizing marijuana and on that not everybody that comes to the country is evil. But I also do believe, we've taken in way too many economic migrants, i.e. poor people that will have kids, and those kids will then be eligible for WIC and other assistance. We've been doing that for too long. People are just burnt out on taking in poor people when the standard of living in America for the average person that didn't go to college or go to trade school is very low. So I can understand people getting very frustrated and turning to more nativist movements, because what else are they supposed to do? Their lives suck. They, like, if you're, I don't know, like, their lives are miserable in many cases. They're underpaid. They're treated like crap at work because we have no standards in who we let lead companies or government-run institutions like schools. They're oftentimes don't have good health insurance. They have a huge deductible out of pocket. They just go through life. And then you have people like Elon saying, let's take in more people so I can buy a third yacht. Nobody is on board with that anymore, and they never were. The Republican Party is very good at messaging and propaganda. At the rah-rah America, it's starting to not work, though, because people are seeing through it and realizing a lot of what Republican administrations deliver is actually only for the rich people, and the people that actually made the movement and attended the rallies, donated, they don't see any of the benefit. It's also true in the Democrat Party. The only exception to that would have been Bernie Sanders, ideally. He would have been the one exception that wouldn't have been a bought-off president. That's hilarious when you think about it. There are still people in the Democrat Party who believe that Hillary Clinton was the good option. She didn't even visit certain states once and lost to the guy she called a clown for over 10 years at that point. That he has a long media history. So, yeah, people are just, this is a symptom of a system that's deeply decayed and flawed, where any random tech bro billionaire can come buy your party, your movement, and just take it from you. And that is partially on Trump for capitulating and saying, oh yeah, I agree with Elon. Of course he agrees with the guy who funneled millions of dollars into his campaign while his supporters were the ones block walking, making phone calls, going to Trump rallies in the 100-degree heat. They did the work, and they get none of the benefit. Now, that's not new. That's standard U.S. politics in the mainstream establishment party system, Republican, Democrat. That's how it's operated for many years. So a lot of the people that were fear-mongering about a mass deportation and how Trump's going to be literally Mussolini and Project 2025 is going to put us all, like, chained in churches, I don't think any of that is happening. You know what I think is happening? A tax cut for the rich, and that's about it. That's what happened last time. There was no mass deportation last time. There was one attempt at an ICE raid, and then he announced it on Twitter ahead of time. He announced an ICE raid on Twitter ahead of time. Assuming what? That these people can't read? And that content creators wouldn't make guides on how to evade ICE and get an immigration attorney? If the goal was to be a nativist movement, it failed epically the first term. But what's the alternative? We always look at the alternative. I'm going to be fair and look at the alternative here. For 2024, what was the other option? A woman who had no answers to any real questions involving policy, was always making fun of Trump having concepts of a plan. She never laid out her plan once during these rallies. She just kept saying, I have a plan, not a concept of a plan. And Tim Walz would further it with, we don't believe in concepts of plans. I'm like, you all ended your campaign in debt, allegedly. There was no plan. She was installed. She received 0 votes before, obviously not in the presidential election, but leading up to it. She lost the primary in 2019 and 2020 primary in such epic fashion. She had to drop out before Iowa. Nobody wanted her to be president. The media did this giant psyop on everybody, making it seem like she was the most popular leader since JFK. Complete nonsense. Most people hated her. Everybody laughed at her in 2019 when Tulsi Gabbard dunked on her on the DNC debate stage. When you treat the system like a joke and you treat it like a circus, don't be surprised when it becomes full of clowns. All I've got on that. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think below. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps the channel immensely. Thank you very much for watching, and have a very blessed Happy New Year.